Hey everybody, it is 8:45 in the morning on the 24th of October. It's Monday morning. Market opens in about 45 minutes. So I'm here to give a little overview on what I think is going to be happening over the next few days here. Before I get into all of this, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and I'm just giving my opinion on the market. So we're going to go into the S&P 500. I am interested, however, in taking a little bit of a peek at Bitcoin at the end of the video. So just keep that in mind as we go through. That at the end of this, I do want to talk a little bit about our good friend Bitcoin. All right, so let's go ahead and move on into the chart. I'm going to keep this a little short and sweet this morning. Not too much to discuss, but alas, here we are. All right, so a couple things here. Not a whole lot has really changed too much from a midterm perspective of what I'm looking to happen between now and about mid-November. It's still up in the air on what's going to happen in December. I guess just between all of us friends here, I'm expecting a significant move down, like a capitulation style downward move, very similar to what happened in the Hang Seng Index last night. That was capitulation. And I don't know if and when it might happen here in the United States, but I think if it does, it's probably going to happen after elections and before Christmas. So, just looking at this, again, not a whole lot really has changed. We are in a very sideways chop situation here. And really, we've been kind of keeping track of this since the broadening wedge started. And this is all the way back in September 23rd. So for a month, we have just been sort of in this range. And we have had great wild moves over the last month. We've had great opportunities to make great amount of profits. I'm not going to highlight them so much here, but at the end of the day, it does look like we are in a corrective pattern, a corrective cycle. So looking at this again, from this low back here, we were counting this as, kind of an impulsive move up. And then we had this move down, and then we had this move up. And we were, wondering, is it done here? Well, so let's look at this, and I'm going to kind of zoom in just a little bit to look at this correction, because we do have a little bit of a correction here to pay attention to. So from here, we have down, up, down. Okay, so we have the A, and then a little A, B, C into the B. And then we've got a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here into the C. So a little 3, 3, 5 to go down here to finish this correction. And it just so happens that the 100% extension was down here at 36.50. All right. So we've got that. Now, let's just take a look here from a potential expanded flat going into to a further correction. Again, this all still looks corrective. All right. So what we're looking at here is the potential right here for an A, a B, and a C. All right, this is of a larger degree, right? So we're talking about a larger wave correction that is in the works here. Move this degree up. So we're looking at that as a potential for an A, B, C, right? So we can count here. We've got a little 1, 2, maybe a little 3, 4, 5, or a 3, a deeper 4, and then we go up for wave 5. So this C might actually come out just a little bit here. Maybe we'll get a little bit of push up into the open today. So we have about 45 minutes here for a move to happen. It may happen early on today. I would be interested in shorting that move, because if this is the case, what we're looking at is a much larger A, which is likely to be completed today, move down here into wave B, and where we go down we don't know quite yet, but then a move up into wave C. All right, so I'm expecting within the next maybe 2 to 3 days for us to create a more significant bottom here. Now again, where that bottom lands, we don't really know quite yet, because we don't know where the top here is. And again, this is going to be on an even higher degree, just to kind of put things into perspective. Change the color just a little bit. I'll color it orange because it's still kind of in play, right? So this isn't completely finished here. But at the end of the day, we have, again, a potential for one last move up here to kind of get more bulls on board, more bears kind of nervous. But I think that more than likely, the move that happened, this would have been on Friday all day, this move more than likely is going to get faded. We're going to have to watch the cash open. So wait to see what happens at 9:30. It does look like right now we're going to get a little bit of a gap up, and that's okay. What happens after that gap is really what's going to define what's going to happen over the next few days. But I believe that the gap up that we're going to get is going to be sold off, right? So real similar to what happened right here, right? So it was right here where we had a big gap up compared to where we closed all the way back here. Now keep in mind, we got calls here, and so we were able to take this move from here all the way to right there where we opened, and then we basically, took profit on that, and were able to make a significant amount of cash on that move because, again, we had a big move up, right, a big gap up, and then it got completely faded. I would expect that that's probably what's going to happen today. Again, a gap up, maybe a little bit of a push, and then a fade. And I really believe that that's more than likely what's going to happen here. So again, we closed the day. Let's just go ahead and mark it. So let's see here, 5, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So it's about right here where we close. So we're just slightly above 65.89. So that's 24 points up that we currently are from where we closed on Friday, roughly, right? So getting a little bit of a gap here. Watch to see what happens because, again, we could gap. We could hit this level right up here to make a new local high, which 38.19 would be great because that is basically the highs from back here on October 5th. From there, I think we're going to find some support right here. It makes some sense. We have some resistance clusters here, right here as well. And then we see a little bit of a move up, and then we see that move down. Is it going to go all the way to Wednesday? That remains to be seen. But one way or another, we're likely going to see a wave B coming here on a larger degree, and then up into elections. So previously, I had discussed the potential that we're going to see a continued move down through basically Halloween, right? Through the end of October, and then we start that move up into elections, which I have basically kind of Halloween here. This is basically the close of the day on Friday. So this B may not actually happen to all the way back here. We'll have to wait and see. And then a move up into elections, which is going to be on November 8th. And I do want to talk about November 8th because I think it's important to talk about November 8th. That's going to be all the way over here. I think there is potential that we could see a move up to 4,000. I tend to believe that 3,800 to 3,850 is probably going to be a really significant resistance, at least in the short term. So just keeping that in mind. But again, it is possible that this wave 4 could go all the way up to 4,000. And again, that is a very real possibility for us to see prices go up that high, at least on the index. Keep an eye on bigger companies like Tesla and Apple and Meta, those companies that make up a larger percentage of the S&P 500. Keep an eye on those and watch to see how they react throughout all of this turbulence. Because again, this is just a lot of chop that's happening right here. So the way the market has been working so far is if you're able to, short the top and long the bottoms, it's really worked out to your advantage over this entire duration of the last month. That is going to change soon, so be very careful. That's going to lead into my thoughts on Bitcoin here in just a moment. But again, at the end of the day, I think we're going to see a move down, and then we're going to see probably a drastic, and it may be fast. The longer it takes for this wave B to finish, the faster that wave C is going to hit. Because again, I do believe that we're going to see a push up into November 7th. Yes, it lines up with the let's see here, on November 8th there is a new moon, or is it a full moon? There's a lunar cycle that happens on November 8th, which is important to pay attention to. There's a lot of other astrological events that are going to be occurring over the next 2 weeks. And so I think we're going to see significant market turbulence that is going to be driven based off of some of these lunar events and astrological events that people don't really give a whole lot of weight to. So just keep in mind that we don't know what the reason is, or at least what we're going to be blaming these moves on. We don't know what those are yet, but they're going to happen, right? I have no doubt in my mind we're going to be seeing significant turbulence over the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we don't know, what the catalyst is going to be, but something is going to happen, whether it be China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, maybe something astrologically charged. We don't know that yet, but I can tell you that something is going to happen that is going to be causing some of these wild moves. We've got the Fed, we've got CPI, we've got elections, we have global market turmoil. We've got a lot of things. And I mean, HSI is a really, really good indication that it won't take much for something significant to happen. I mean, look at this. So Hang Seng has seen a move from up here in June up at about 22,397. And then it started a decline, right? It went down 10%, saw a little bit of a bounce. Then it came down more, 13%, saw a little bit of a bounce, found some significant resistance here at about 20,200. But then what ended up happening? Well, we saw an even bigger drop right here, 24%. Now, what happened there? Huge bounce, right? It went up like 7%. But keep in mind, it had still gone down. Even after this big bounce, it was still down 20% from that high there in mid-June. And now here we are from mid-June, we've gone down 32.5%. This looks like straight up capitulation. You can see in this entire decline, it was pretty choppy, a little steep move down, kind of choppy. But this is just straight up decline, straight move down. This looks like capitulation. Would I be interested in buying, things that are related to Hang Seng? Not quite yet. When you are in the middle of a capitulation phase, right? And I would say another example of a capitulation phase that we saw here is this guy right here, okay? We could be seeing something similar to this, which means that right now, today, we're probably about right here. Okay, so just looking at this, after we saw a little bit of a chop, finally a big straight move down, right? As you can see, we had a little bit of move down, a little move up, and then another move down. So we had a move down, a tiny move up, and a move down. We could still be very early on in this capitulation phase. So tomorrow, we may see another move down. What you need to look for is a rebound. Wait for a move up in the day, or in the next day rather, versus, just trying to buy the bottom over and over and over and then get your face ripped off. Wait for a day that gaps up and continues to move up, right? Because typically in a capitulation phase, when you have a day that gaps up, we're probably going to see a good sustained rally after that. And again, we're talking about capitulation phases, not normal market conditions. All right, last but not least, I do want to talk about Bitcoin because, again, this is something that we have been watching and paying really close attention to. We have been in this area for months. Since, again, mid-June, right? We were just talking about mid-June with the Hang Seng Index, and we have been in this general zone for months. 4 months we've been sitting here in this zone, and we haven't been able to pull ourselves, really in either way. We did try to move up, right? This whole move right here was a huge attempt to move up, but you can see this was like an ending diagonal. This was not pretty. It did not look good at all. And we fell. We found a little bit of support where I have marked our bearish control zone, and I have put arrows to give evidence to why I believe that that is our bearish control zone. I believe that we all need to be bears as long as we are below this level of about 20,400 to 20,700. Because again, lots of resistance has been created here, and then again, support has been created in these areas as well. So are we destined to just continue to move down? Well, that's a great question. So right now, it does look like we're going to break down. That's what the wave structure looks like to me. It looks like we are going to see a move down. Is it going to be happening after the elections? Is it going to happen in a similar cycle to where I think the S&P 500 is going to go? That is another great question. But I mentioned before, be careful when you are trying to, to buy and sell at least Bitcoin in the short term. Because what ends up happening, people get complacent because the volatility is so low. The volatility is very low. And this is evidenced by the fact that the Bollinger Bands, which you probably can't see very well, but I do have it on here. I have it on the chart all the time. It's just the fact that you can't see it all that well. But we've got our Bollinger Bands right here, which let's just go ahead and look at these for just a moment, because this is going to be somewhat important to pay attention to. Let me go on to, say, Bitfinex. All right, so I'm on the daily. We're seeing some contraction, right? And the contraction that we're seeing is very similar to what we saw right here. We've got a really tight contraction here on Bitcoin, and what ended up happening, it expanded to the downside. All right. Most times when you see Bitcoin contracting like this on the daily, it usually indicates that there is a volatile move that is going to be happening. Whether it be up or down, extreme market volatility is likely to occur. And we are tighter now than we were back here. Okay, so just pay attention to that. I'm also going to be moving to the weekly. But before I do that, again, look at how tight this is on the daily compared to this move right here, compared to this move right here. Even back here, we are way tighter than we have been really in this entire market cycle from when we hit all-time highs. This is the lowest amount of volatility that we have seen basically ever since all the way back here in October of 2020. Back here in July of 2020. Big difference between the two, by the way, in case you didn't notice. Back then, we were moving up into the volatility decrease. Up, and then we're into a decreased amount of volatility. And then we had a big explosive move to the upside. But right now, things are a lot different because we moved down into a decreased volatility, and then we moved down into a decreased volatility, and now we've moved down again into a decrease of volatility. Okay, so does that mean that we have to go down? No. I just say that the probability suggests that more than likely we are going to be seeing a significant move down. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that we can't spike up here to 20,100 or so on and so forth. But nonetheless, it does look like we are setting up for a move down. Let's take a look at the weekly. Okay, so we're going to go here to the weekly, and I'm going to get off of log here for a moment. Now, it doesn't look like much, but this move right here, actually, let me go ahead and move back to log because it might be a little easier to see. After we have extreme volatility events where we see, a big move up here, right? We're following the top of this Bollinger Band, and then we see this retest of the lower. We go up a little bit higher, hit the lower. So it's being contained inside the bands. Again, the entire bull move of 2017, we were following the top of these bands. and then we came down, we retested the lower, we retested the upper, and then we fell. So again, we retested the lower, we retested the upper, and so far we have since fallen. But the volatility, right? And again, I make a lot of references to October of 2018. I make a lot of references to that. And the reason why I do that is because of this area right here. Look at the contraction that we have here in the weekly Bollinger Bands. All right, so let's see if my data window will give me any amount of data on these Bollinger Bands that gives me anything that I can measure here. Does not look like I have any unit of measurements right now. I would have to go and take a look at the Bollinger Band width indicator to see how wide these Bollinger Bands were right here. But fact of the matter is, we are close to doing a very similar thing here that we were back here in October of 2018. So again, be very careful. Do not over leverage at this point. Just because there's not a lot of volatility doesn't mean that you should go and get a whole bunch of leverage because the price isn't moving. It won't take much for you to just completely destroy your account by over leveraging. Yeah, we're in like a 3x short right now. 3x is like hardly any kind of leverage. The chance of me getting liquidated on a move like that is basically impossible. We would need to see it move up to like $60,000, $70,000 over the course of like 10 minutes in order for me to get liquidated on something like that. Because fact of the matter is, I know when I'm wrong. I know when I'm going to get out of that short, and I'm not going to let that happen. For me to let that position go. So be very careful. Watch the Bollinger Bands on the weekly, because the more they contract, the bigger the move is going to be. Looking at this, we saw a 50% downward move. We started right here at about 6,400, and we went all the way down to about $3,100. Right, so that's 3,200, a drop of about 49.5%. Now, are we going to see a 49.5% move? I mean, probably not. That would take us all the way down to about $9,800, $10,000. Is that possible? Oh, you better believe it. But is the short position that I'm in going to be a short from 19,500 down to 10,000? No, that's not the trade that I'm in. I'm just saying that the potential is there for us to see the market drop another 50%. Before we see a significant increase in demand, to start another cycle up, which I believe that when we do start to see a move up, we're probably going to see a move up into approximately April or May of next year. So, what's going to happen between now and then is going to be something that, not a whole lot of people can predict, but I absolutely believe that there is a high degree possibility or probability that we are going to see an upward move into April or May of next year after we finally create a bottom. And again, that bottom could be at 10,000. Bottom could be right now. I think that the chances of that are pretty small, but certainly the bottom could be right now. But I think that we're going to be able to see lower prices, and probably lower than a lot of people are expecting. And when I say $10,000, people look at me like I'm crazy. But, when the price was $6,400 in October of 2018, if I were to have said, hey, we're going to go down to $3,100, people would probably look at you like you're nuts, because that's a 50% drop from where we were at. But that's exactly what happened. Okay, that is what I've got on the S&P 500 and what I've got on Bitcoin. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. If you need access to our Discord, BitDoctor.org. If you want access to our bi-weekly newsletter, BitDoctor.org. If you need access to our Wavemaster indicator, you can find that information on BitDoctor.org as well. Feel free to send me a DM in Twitter if you've got any additional questions. If you're not on our Discord, you can still contact me there if you need to. And last but not least, wherever you're on the world, I hope you're having a good day, good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.